Okay, so I appreciate, of course, the message. I'm happy to chat and help. And this is a free call, so just remember to stay off names and places. And I'm
Okay.
all ears if you want to either read your message or just tell me how I can best help.
Well, actually, I don't really remember my original message, but it was probably something that 3 weeks ago I had this medical bill, which was a little bit, in my opinion, fraudulent. Well, they actually have modified it now, so obviously it was not correct, and it felt to me very what I would say passive aggressive. And immediately my brain, when this kind of things happens, my brain is just going in some kind of loop, and I'm thinking about the problem a lot. Like, doesn't prevent me from going about my day, doing what I have to do. But as soon as my day pauses for some reason, like the best example would be like just before, I mean, going to bed, basically when I'm lying down, I'm just thinking about the problem a lot. And I know it's not a big deal. So for example, here we are speaking about, okay, let's say $150, okay, that they would have screwed me. And I felt it was very unfair. And I was just thinking about the events again and again in my head. I say, yeah, how did we end up in this situation? I mean, how can they be so stupid? Without judgment there. And yeah, and I know that it's not a big deal. Even if at the end of the day I would lose those 150, I wouldn't be a big deal. But I try to just ignore it, and my brain cannot ignore the problem. And I'm like almost pissed about myself because I say, why can't I just let that go? I mean, even if I get screwed, because I know that many people, they would just think, oh, I got screwed there, and they just move on. And me, I'm absolutely not that type of guy. I'm like, no way you're screwing me. I won't brother. And so my question is more or less, do you have like a bag of tricks to go over that? And one of the reasons is I very much appreciated one of your recent podcasts about how to punish criminals. I don't see anybody else doing this kind of reflection about the justice system. It's pretty unique. I mean, it's like nobody is discussing like, okay, I get screwed like that. Obviously, it's very complicated to, to say your claim as an individual. And I'm thinking, okay, you are quite often like kind of drifting toward like speaking about this justice system and how it could be improved and stuff. And I'm thinking maybe you are in the same situations as me. You don't like to let those things pass. And maybe you have with your experience. I mean, I'm in my 40s, and I think you're a bit older. Do you have like a bag of tricks now that you use to like detach yourself from the problem and say, I got through, let's move on with my life? That's about it.
Right, right. Great question. I appreciate it. It's a very deep question. Well, tell me about your life as a whole.
Well, I must say things are pretty fine. I have a medical problem which is putting me down a little bit over like the last 4 or 5 years, but there may be a solution in sight actually next week. Besides that, what do you want to know? I mean, I'm considered a pretty happy guy, very optimistic kind of person. Um, what do you want to know? Because
But
pretty
yeah, that's
lost.
fine. Now, so the reason I ask is that one of the cures for injustice is being loved, right? So if you have
Uh-huh.
someone in your life who loves you, it's a whole lot easier to have people treat you badly if you come home to someone who treats you well.
Wow, very good point. I don't have anybody around. I'm single,
Got it.
and
Okay.
family is far away. I don't consider I have some good close friends, but I'm also extremely introverted. And generally speaking, I don't seek the attention or uh, any form of social life. I'm pretty happy by myself. Fine. At least this is what I believe. No, you're making me doubt. And yeah, I didn't think about that. Is it sold then? I just need love.
Well, you want a bag of tricks? That's the first trick, right? So uh,
Okay,
tell me
that's
about your
a good one.
dating history or romantic history or love history? What's happened in your, quarter century, I suppose, since you started dating or could?
Yeah. Basically, I had one long-term relationship with a woman, which I put an end to. It was a very, I mean, we keep in touch. It was a very, I would say, personal relationship. I'm not into like
Sorry, a very what relationship?
personal. Is it? Am I doing something? Am I doing a full? I mean, using a word which does nothing exist in English because it's not my first language. Basically, I was very attached to the person. Yeah, it's the reason there was a fusion. Like we were
A
like,
fusion. Okay,
uh,
my apologies.
yeah,
I got it.
fusion.
Yep. Go ahead.
Okay, and yeah, I'm more into those kind of deep relationships. I'm not at all into like. I like to talk a lot one on one with people. Okay, not in groups. So very introverted. And I like a deep relationship, someone who like really can understand me on a deep level, and the same on my side. And so I had this long-term relationship, like a bit more than 5 years, and that ended when I was around 30 years old. Then I had another girlfriend. It was much lighter relationship for 1 year. It didn't work out, but it was not supposed to work out. I mean, it was like we were kind of friends, and that's it, more or less. Uh, yeah, that's more or less it. And again, I'm not actually. I'm very easily talked to random women anywhere. So this is something which is apparently a bit strange for not really common. But I don't have problems talking easily to women anywhere. I don't know, in the street, at the gym, even when I go to do my groceries. But it's just like I'm not interested. I don't know if it's just I don't find the right one. Maybe I have a lot of standards now because as you get older, you have more standards. But it's just not my just not. I'm not actively looking, and yeah, that's about my dating life. And also, I'm thinking, I have this kind of approach that I'm doing my life, and I'm not. I'm not completely closing myself. For example, when I go out, I try not to be dressed like shit or stuff like that. Sorry, I used the bad words. Can we use like
Oh
this kind of
yeah, I
word?
don't. That's fine. Yeah, I don't care. Go ahead.
Okay. But also, so I take a big care of myself, because you never know. But I don't do any active steps like going in special places or doing anything like that because I'm focused on my life. I mean, also the injury in the last 5 years caused me to be, this is this famous quote that a man who doesn't have health only has one desire. So you're a bit detached from. I have actually a good female friend, and she's telling me that quite often times. She tells me, "Oh, you're quite detached from your body, from the material world." But that's about it. Yeah, my dating life.
Okay. So you dated a woman from sort of 25 to 30?
Yeah, it was more than dating. It was like there was
A
more like,
relationship.
yeah, it was a quite involved relationship.
Okay. Why didn't you get married?
Very good question. What happened is like I felt to be stuck in the relationship, and because we were living in her country, and when we met at first, she was well, there was no clear decision about where we would live later on. But as the relationship went on, it was pretty clear she wanted to stay in that country. For me, the weather there was not okay. But again, I had a perfectly normal relationship with her and so on, but I felt stuck for some reason. And so I decided to leave her because it was like where my life was going was not the right direction. But also, I felt that there was something off with on her side. And
Sorry,
what
hang
happened?
on. It's
Yeah, tell me.
you didn't leave her because of weather, did you?
No, 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 no. I didn't leave her because of the weather, but I leave her. I mean, I was asking her like the country where we're living. I was asking her, "Hey, are we going to relocate at some point?" Because well, the weather was pretty harsh, like in the minus, like most of the year or stuff like that. So it's north, okay. And I'm really not made for this kind of weather. I was suffering in my flesh. Okay, I'm not just like complaining a little bit about the weather. Okay, like I was suffering.
Okay, so listen, we
yeah.
can talk.
Yeah.
It's fine. We can talk about countries as a whole. I think that's fine. So, what's
Okay.
your background ethnically, culturally, and what country are you talking about that you might have moved to?
Well, me, I look like a skinny Latino guy, and the country was supposed to be Sweden, where for 3 winters the temperature will reach minus 20 degrees Celsius, which is I don't know in Fahrenheit, but it's like I mean minus 20 degrees Celsius is it's pretty hot. I mean you get out without your gloves after 5 seconds, your hands are kind of frozen and very humid also, so it's really feels the cold.
Okay,
And
so
after
you're
3 winters,
hang
yeah,
on. So you're a Hispanic or a Latina guy, and
yeah,
it was a Swedish woman.
exactly, yeah.
Okay.
And obviously,
So
when you see the Swedes, they are
why?
very fit.
Hang on, and was she your age as well?
Yeah, she was my age.
Okay. How did it last for 5 years without this decision being made or something being resolved?
Yeah, she was a very quiet woman. She was a very she had a lot of difficulty to express herself. And after the relationship, I was thinking about how did this relationship went and what happened. And she was a single child. And also listening to you probably helps to understand this kind of things. She was a single child. Her mother was speaking all the time. We would be at like down on anything. So it was her father, her mother, and her, and me. And her mother was speaking the entire way. And so her father wouldn't say a word. She wouldn't say a word. And she was like that then with me. It was very hard to get anything out of her. She would be very secretive about her feelings, about everything. And what happened also, 1 year, so 1 year and a half after I left her, we kept in touch through mail. He had found another person and she had a child. Oh, so 1 year and a half after she had a child. I mean, you do the calculation, 9 months. Then after 6 months, you had another person, obviously. And after another 9 months, she had a child. So there was maybe something I was feeling about her. She wanted something. I didn't really understand what she wanted. He never expressed it. I was afterward, I'm thinking there was maybe something about that. And me, I was not at all into having a child at that time. In fact, it's not like I was in favor or against it. I was not thinking about it at all. It was completely outside of my scope. So if she wouldn't bring up the subject, she never did. I wouldn't find out. So this is what happened.
Okay. What's your relationship like with your parents?
Very, very distant relationship. They
Well, that's
are
why you're
very,
dating
very
for 5 years, by the way. But anyway, go on.
okay. Uh, what I don't know. I mean, I basically don't have any more relationship with my mother, and I have a very distant relationship with my father because we are not. I would say how to say that. So first of all, when I was a kid, he was not there. Okay, so uh, he was not there because he was working, so he wouldn't be at home at all for like months, and I would hardly see him. And then later on, I actually decided to leave my family because so my parents were went down towards a divorce, so it was like quite messy at home. I decided to leave the house, and I went to a school, where you can live at the school, so internet. I don't know if the word exists in English. Internet, like
Oh,
you are like
international school or like a boarding school?
no, no, no. So yeah, it's a boarding school. Yeah, exactly. The
Okay.
term is boarding school. So I went to a boarding school on my own decision to leave this family environment. So when I was like 15, I told my parents I want to leave. I want to go to this school or this boarding school. So they were kind of shocked. And I went to boarding school and I was super happy. And then again, uh, I was in Sweden when I was young adult. And then uh, past that, I wanted to keep contact with my family. I had no problem with them individually. They were fighting with each other and stuff, but I had no problem with my mother, no problem with my father. But then my mother, she had a bit of I would say, psychological problem. Not clear to me what she had, and she would have personality transfer. She would think that I was my father.
She would
So
think
when
that you were. Hang on, hang on. She would think that you were your father.
Yeah. So what happens is like, this is in front of you. Okay. So my mother would be in front of me and she would talk to me like I was my father. It was a very bizarre situation. And it was also not a very safe situation for me because of the violence she had toward my father. So I decided to like keep my distances and I more or less lost contact with my mom. And all right, she did a couple of actions also that told me that I should stay away from that. And but I still try keep to keep a bit of contact about what was going on. But then there was a fallout with my sister. I mean, what happened is like my sister had a fallout with the family more or less on her side. Very complicated. So me, I was like swept away in this thing, even if I didn't ask anybody for anything. Okay, it was just I was abroad. I was just trying to check on people, and there was all those battles going on in this dysfunctional family. And then I mean, too, on my father was the same. I was well, try to keep contact with you, you know. And if you answer the phone, it's fine. If suddenly for some reason you decide that I'm a problem, you know, I'm not going to call him back. But my father, he always kept in touch. My father, to be very clear, is an archetypal boomer, you know, like the baby boomer. So he's very centered on his life, what he wants in his life. He never had time for his children. And I still see, I understood what it was later on in life. Okay, when I was more like in my 30s, I understood that my father was this kind of person. He didn't really care. I didn't really share. Didn't really teach me anything. Not didn't really teach me anything. But I was since I had an education at the boarding school, it was not a big deal. I still had an education, so okay, so that was a good point. But I said, okay, my father was really not the kind of father who like really take care to try to transmit anything or stuff like that. But yeah, I kept in touch with him and I take him at his level. You know, I don't try to make a deeper relationship. You know, it's about what he wants. Sometimes I propose I propose him to visit. They say, hey, you can come anytime. You can come next month. So, but he never wants to come or do anything like that. So it's a very distant relationship. We call to give you an idea. My entire relationship with my family is that maybe I have a phone call with my father every other month or something like that. Yeah, this is my relationship with my family.
Wow. I know you said it's a long story, but what was happening with your sister?
Actually, I had two sisters. So my first my older sister, uh, what happened? So I was abroad at the time, but she had a story with her boyfriend or whatever it was, and it seems that my family, so me, I was abroad, so not me, but my family was very judgmental towards this guy, and she made a choice between this guy and the rest of the family, and he cut contact with the family, never to be heard again. I don't even know where she lives. I know nothing about her. But I would come across her in the street. I wouldn't know it's her. So I think she had relocated like thousands of kilometers away from where my family was living and stuff like that. So she disappeared.
Wow.
Uh, yeah. And
And
then
how old was she?
she was 4 years older than me. So now she must be around
No, when
45.
this was happening.
But when that happened, let me think, she must have been around 32 years old or something like that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So her
Uh,
body was saying that it wants a baby, and if she's got to discard her family, probably that was it. But okay. So your family didn't like her boyfriend, and she
yeah,
just moved to be with him, and she dumped her whole family, right?
exactly. I mean, what she done is like my mother and my father, who were like constantly battling for in a long divorce proceeding, which lasted for like, I don't know, 15 years or something. And there was my
15
younger sister.
years.
Yeah. I mean, it's not even over. And you know, my father is actually
But hang on.
was
Sorry. But your mother went
yeah,
mad.
yeah,
How is
more or
she
less,
able
yeah.
to maintain a 15-year court battle plus if she went
Actually,
mad?
well, you know, I think there is involvement of lawyers who were sucking dry everybody, you know, of money. And I mean, it's complicated. I don't really know what happened. Again, I was abroad, but both of them were nasty. I mean, on this thing, both of them really, the proceeding were going to close for whatever reason. Both of them my mother wanted more money all the time. And my father wanted like pay a lump sum or something and get rid of that, because otherwise he has to pay, what is it called, alimony or something. He has to pay her a fee or whatever. It was just about that. He wanted to give a lump sum, and there was battles, but I don't even know how that works, because now you have a court case, you have an appeal, and that's it. I don't know. 15 years. I don't even know if it's over now. This is what I'm telling you, because again, I don't know. Last time it was maybe 3 or 4 years ago. My father told me, "Yeah, I'm gonna do this," and I said, "Okay, I don't want to get involved. That's not my business." But yeah, there was this long proceeding, and then my younger sister. So my younger sister is like, what happened is like my father. So we were supposed at some point to have like some kind of family reunion. So family reunion would have been my younger sister, her boyfriend at the time, my father, and me. And what happened is like, I was saying, okay, we have this reunion in 2 weeks from now. And I was traveling. I was actually, for once, I was not abroad, but I traveled abroad 2 weeks far away and without my phone, because I didn't have the SIM card for international phone call or anything. I come back from this travel and there is like tons of text messages. Like, what happened is my father, I told you, is like thinking about himself a lot. Last minute, literally like 2 days before this family reunion, he canceled. He said, "No, I'm not coming. I can't because I have to work like the next week and I don't want to come." My sister was extraordinarily pissed by that, obviously, from the text messages. And she asked me to get involved, but I was not receiving any text message because I was abroad. And what happened is like, at some point in the text message, she put me an ultimatum. She said, "If you don't say anything, I'm going to never speak to you again." I never received this message. I was not receiving any of the text messages. So I come back. I'm at the airport. I arrive. I'm super happy to come back. I say, "We're gonna have the family reunion." So I get my phone. I get like, I don't know, start to text messages, and I learn about this story. I say, "Okay, what is this crazy situation?" So then I try to mediate. And the fun fact is like, as of today, I felt it was very unfair on my sister's side, because how can she do that to me? I mean, I'm not involved. She has a fallout with my father. How do I relate to this? I felt like my family was so dysfunctional. I didn't want to have anything to do with her anymore. And the fun fact is that years after, my younger sister now talks to my father again. And yeah, this kind of relationship. And me, I decided to stay away from that, because complicated. Every single time you try to do a move towards a person, it's like you get you get kicked in the butt. So I stayed away from this totally dysfunctional family. That's what happened on my family side.
Okay, so when did you last have any contact with your mother?
More than 10 years ago.
Sorry, more than 10 years ago?
Yes.
And was she still kind of crazy then?
I know people who know what she's up to, and they told me, without me asking, and she was kind of crazy. And I know from my father, like last time 3 years ago, that he was still in a fight with her about this divorce money or stuff like that. That's what I know about my mother.
Okay. All right. Okay. And you barely talk to your father. You don't talk to your mother. You don't have
Exactly.
one sister because she's gone somewhere on the planet. And what about the other sister?
Well, the other sister, again, she talks to. What do you mean? I mean,
No,
my
your
older
relationship with
sister.
her. Are you
My younger
close?
sister, I don't have it. No, I don't have any relationship with none of my sisters.
Okay, sorry. I thought the one moved away. I just wanted to know if you had. Okay, so
One moved away. Yeah.
and so, who gives you advice?
Friends.
Okay, and
Friends, and
you had friends
yeah.
during the 5-year relationship. Did any one of your friends say you've kind of got to come to a decision about whether you're going to move to Sweden or something like that?
No, none at all. No, I was not talking about that subject with them, actually.
Well, I
About
mean,
this
are they? Hang
relationship.
on. So the biggest decision that you had to make over those 5 years was about your romantic relationship, right?
Yes. In my
And
life,
you didn't
probably.
talk to you. Hang on. So we got to do this thing where you don't talk the moment I start talking.
Right.
So the biggest decision you had to make, not right at the beginning, but over those 5 years, was whether you're going to move to Sweden, whether you should continue the relationship, and whether it's fair on the woman. Because if she's your age, then if you take a woman's age from 25 to 30, that's like a quarter of her fertility window. And it's taking sort of the highest sexual market value years of her life. I mean, you can wait. You can
Right.
have kids now. You can have kids in 5 years or 10 years or more, but she can't, right?
Right.
So I would assume that if you have friends who are giving you advice, that you would talk to them about your relationship. And if not, I guess I'm just not sure why.
Because I didn't ask them about that.
But that's not an answer. If I say, why didn't you do something? You say, because I didn't. Why didn't you talk to your friends about your relationship? Because I didn't talk to my friends about.
I thought you said, why didn't my friend ask about it?
No. Why didn't you talk to your friends? I mean, they should ask you about it too. I assume they knew you were dating, right?
Yeah, for sure. They knew my girlfriend and everything.
They met her and so on.
Yeah.
Okay, so shouldn't your friends ask you what your plans are, how things are going? Just some basic life feedback, right?
Oh, wow. I don't really know, actually. But I think that's the period where I started to feel that everything was fine in the relationship. I didn't ask myself much questions. It's not like any questions. For me, the relationship was fine. And suddenly I thought something was off. And it was very, 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 very quick. Like something probably that it was probably something was off before that, as you say. My girlfriend was in some kind of best years and stuff. But for me, it was like the last 2 months, basically. I was like, okay, something is off. And 2 months later, I say, okay, I'm out. So I put an end to the relationship. I go back to my country. Oh, it was like very, very quick. I didn't spend time, try to make the relationship work again. I felt something was off.
Right. Okay, so you don't get much advice.
I do not.
Okay, well,
to say that.
So let me ask you this. If you can imagine being in a war and you're creeping through the jungle or the forest or whatever, there are enemies all around you, and you're alone, would you be more jumpy if you were alone, more nervous, more scared, more volatile if you were alone, or if you had 10 people with you who were on your side, your squad, or your fellow soldiers?
Well, actually, I was in the army, and I was in a leadership position.
Okay.
I will tell
So
you
would
that.
you recommend to a
question,
hang on. So would you recommend to a soldier that if you're in enemy territory, try to be alone?
no,
Or would you say
absolutely
have
not.
other soldiers with you?
Yeah, for sure. Keep a group, but again, it depends. I would say it depends.
Okay, look, bro, look, let's not
Yeah.
waste time. Let's not waste time. Everything depends. I mean, if it's
No,
a
but what I
scout,
mean-
right? If he's okay,
What's
don't do
that?
this thing, please. Don't
What I
do
mean
this
is,
thing.
what about
Hang
trusting-
on. Don't do.
Okay.
Hang on. I know you spend a lot of time alone. Okay, I know you say you're kind of a solitary person.
I am.
You have to do. I mean, if we're going to have this conversation, and I really do want to have the conversation, you cannot start talking in my ear the moment I start saying something. That is really rude. So what's happening is, and it's happened like 10 or 15 times, I've done a lot of listening, right? I've asked questions. I've done a lot of listening. Is that fair to say?
Correct.
Okay. So when I am trying to say something, if you're immediately in my ear, I can't have a conversation. Does that make sense? I'm not trying to be mean. Like, I'm trying to help you get value out of the
Stefan,
conversation.
I'm listening.
I'm sorry?
I'm listening. Okay.
So you just did it again, right? So I will try my best not to interrupt you, and there'll be a little bit of overlap. That's fine. But you just have this habit of talking when I'm talking. Like when I start to ask a question or I start to say something, you very quickly just start talking. And I know for a fact that you can't both talk and listen at the same time. Is that fair to say?
It is fair to say.
So if I'm talking and then you immediately start talking, it means that you don't want to listen to what it is that I have to say, right?
Want to give you all the information so you can have like the entire package in front of you to reflect upon.
Well, and
Afraid
that's
to
an
fall.
interesting statement.
I'm afraid to forget something important.
Okay. And listen, if I've got something wrong, that's fine to interrupt me, right? I mean, I may have missed what you said about your sister. So if you get something wrong, that's totally fine to interrupt and correct me. But if you have finished saying what you have to say, and then you think of something else, you have to wait. Because if I'm talking and then you immediately start talking, almost every time I start talking, you immediately start talking. And I'm not trying to be mean, and I'm not trying to, you're not a bad guy or anything like that. But if you finish your thought and then I start talking, if you have something that you want to add, you have to wait, right?
I will wait.
Yeah, you can't just be impulsive and just start talking the moment that a thought crosses your mind. Because it also means that you're not listening to what I'm saying. You're thinking about what else you could say, and then you start saying it. And again, I'm not trying to be some mean guy. I just want to make sure you get the most value out of the conversation. Now, you called me because I have some expertise in helping people, right?
Yes.
So that means you're going to have to listen a little bit, right? And the reason I'm saying all of this is the last thing I'd want is for you to get less value out of the conversation, and also for you to be acting a little bit like your father. You said your father mostly thinks about himself and his needs, right?
This is correct.
Right. So if you have something that you want to add, and I've asked you not to interrupt me all the time, again, it's happened sometimes, it's fine. But if you have something you want to say, and you then just decide to say it, regardless of how intrusive or annoying it might be for me, isn't that only focusing on your own needs and not what I need?
It is.
Right. So that's why I don't want you to do that, because if you're going to act, again, I'm not saying you're your father or you're just like him, but if you're going to act in a little bit of a way like your father, it's going to be pretty tough to get value out of the conversation. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
So, and again, I know I do this all the time. This is your first call in, so it's fine. Like it's not a problem as a whole, but I just can't have it keep going on, because in order to help people, and I'll just be perfectly honest with you, in order to help people, I have to really like them. And if you keep over talking me, I'm going to not like you, which is going to make it a lot harder to help you. And I want to preserve my desire to help you so that you get the most value. So that's why I'm being annoying and, intrusive and just reminding you of this, if that makes sense.
Problem, Stefan, not problem.
Okay. No, I appreciate that. All right. So you have a reasonably interesting and important career. Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, that sounded like a maybe.
It's not a career. It's more like life mission.
I'm sorry, like what?
Life mission.
A life mission. That's even more important than a career. Tell me about that.
Yeah, it is more important for me. I didn't get your last.
Oh, yeah. So tell me about your life mission.
Well, I'm working on my own project. I stopped being an employee early last year. And I wake up every day and I'm super happy to work on that project. So it's way beyond like any thought of career or getting money because for whatever reason I'm not interested in that. It's about working on my project. It's entrepreneurial, requires a lot of my skill. It's not like I just use one part of my skills for a company or something like that. But it's really what I want to do. Very high motivation.
No, that's fantastic. Congratulations. And you said that you're not particularly concerned with money. Is your life mission not making you money at the moment?
Well, I have a good capital that I have accumulated over the years. So basically, I'm telling myself, okay, if anything happens, like, medical problem or something, I have money to pay for that, and I have money to live easily for a few years without income. I'm good. I don't need more than that. Then I will see if if my project didn't work or anything. But for the moment, it's not a concern.
Okay, got it. And have you given up on the idea or the goal or the desire of having a family?
Not at all. Not at all. I would be very glad to find a nice woman and a family.
Sorry, I'm a little confused. If are you in early, mid, or late 40s?
Early 40s.
Early 40s, okay.
Yeah.
So if you want to have a kid, how many kids would you like to have?
Oh, I don't have a number I don't have a number in mind, but well, at least one. If it's two, it's okay too. I mean, I don't have a number in mind, honestly. Couldn't
Okay,
tell
so
you. I
you
never
don't
had
mind if it's
thought that question.
you don't mind if you have an only child, you don't want a big family, is that right?
Yeah, I mean, no more than three, right?
Okay.
That sounds
So
like a lot.
so if you want 3 children, what age of woman do you have to meet? Or if let's say she wants 3 children, how old is the woman that you need to meet?
I don't specifically want to say children. Anywhere from 1 to 3 would be perfectly fine.
Okay, fine.
But
Again, I don't want to get overstuck on the details. Let's say 2 children. Okay, so let's say that because having 2 children is often better than having an only child, and it's easier because the children can play with each other more than requiring the parent all the time. And when the parents aren't home, the child is not alone. And right, so in general, there's a good if you can have 2 children. So if you want to have 2 children, what is the maximum age of the woman when you meet her?
maximum age. I don't think it's Australia, but I'm thinking the woman I want would be like in either in her late 20s or early 30s.
Okay, so you have to go 10 to 12 to 14 years younger, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Now, why would a woman, let's say she's 28 or 29, why would a woman want a guy who's like 15 years older than her?
Uh, that's a good question. I would say I look younger than my age. Like people think usually that I'm like 35 max. I'm very fit, and I am quite wealthy, depending on which country you live in. But I'm quite wealthy. I'm not. I can provide. Let's say.
Okay, so you can provide for a family of 4, maybe 5 for the next 20 plus years.
Well, not for a family of 4 or 5. I don't think so. But
Well, we're talking about a
or
family here.
family. Yes, okay, yeah, sorry. I see what you mean. Yeah. Yeah, for, I mean, even now, without any success in my current project or anything, yeah, for 10 years easily. But at any point in time, I can go back to work, an employee job, and probably make sufficient amount of money.
Okay, so you have saved enough to run a family for 10 years. So you've got, and you don't have to tell me the sum, of course, but you have 600, 700, $800,000, maybe $1 million, something like that, right?
Mhm.
Okay, and that's from your savings from your work?
Yeah,
Okay, so you have a very high income, is that right?
yes.
Okay, so what would the negatives be for a young woman to marry you? I mean, we all have our pluses and minuses, right? I mean, if I was on the dating market, I would say, yeah, I'm a good husband, blah, 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 or I'm a good boyfriend or whatever. But, there would be other things that would be negative, certainly for a younger woman, like I'm older, some reputational damage, things like that. So, what would be the
Yeah.
negatives for a woman who was a lot younger? What would the negatives be in marrying you and thinking about becoming the mother to your children?
I must admit, I never thought about that. Didn't give it a single thought.
You've never thought what it might be like to date you and the pluses and minuses.
No.
Okay, that's fine. It's a bit surprising, but I mean, because you do well in your career, and that's good for you, but that has something to do with figuring out what value you provide to an employer or a customer or something like that, right?
Yeah, actually, I'm not really a good employee in the way that I'm doing a super good job, but I don't like to be an employee. This is why now I move on to my own projects. I'm very, I think actually, I'm a bit too pushy when it comes to work. It's like, honestly, when I'm at work all the time, I think my colleagues are not really carrying their own weight. I mean, it's true, it's like some of them are obviously, but I can't really stand like mediocrity and stuff like that. I really like people like to deliver. I'm pretty good. So it looks like I could be a pretty good employee, but at the end of the day, even against the management, I'm telling you are doing that wrong, you are doing that wrong. But I try to put it in a nice way. I try to, advise. But if I see the company is not moving forward, taking the next step, I'm gonna leave. Or at some point, they're gonna find out that I'm not really suitable for the company. They're gonna fire me, which is fine tuned. By the time I got proposed, also this kind of agreement, like, hey, we let you go. No bad feelings, but you are on your trajectory, and we are on another trajectory, which is kind of correct every time. I don't have much to say about that. So.
But you're a valuable employee.
Yeah, but the workplace, as you know very well, because I heard I listened to your podcast, the workplace is not just about competence and stuff like that. You have a lot of politics, and I do zero politics. As I say, I'm very introverted. For me, politics is like, I don't, I mean, it's not like I don't understand what's going on. I just don't want to get involved. I don't want to play the game. And since I know I'm good as an employee, I know I can find another job. Usually, this is where I'm going to leave or they're going to fire me for some reason.
So you're an engineer.
I am.
Yeah, no, I get it. Okay. All right. So you make good money as an engineer. You can get a job. What's the longest job you've had?
Probably 3 years and a half.
Okay, got it. Okay, so what would be other minuses for a young woman to date you?
Let me think, because again, I never thought about that. So let me think. I lack stability. I'm not a stable guy. I just move on. I don't like the country I move on. I don't like the job I found. And sorry, I just lost one of my events. I put it back. And so, yeah, so that I know that women like stability. And yeah, it pops up in the conversation I have with women, even my friends, my female friends. So I'm not stable at all. It's very uncertain for them. It's like there is this big mystery. Where is this guy going to go next? It's like, yeah, I keep moving.
But you don't have to. It's not like you're a migratory bird. So if you have a family and you have kids, let's say that they're in school, maybe homeschool, I don't know, but let's say they're in school or they have friends, then you just stick around or stick in one place because that's what's best for your family, right?
Yeah, correct. Again, I didn't really think about that aspect of things.
Okay, so you have wanderlust, or you like to move around, which is okay. What else would be negatives for a younger woman to want to date you?
That I'm older for some reason. She doesn't want an older guy. We wouldn't share the exact same cultural references for sure. I know for sure that I'm not looking for any kind of woman. It's a woman would have to acknowledge the fact that I'm older, and we can have some generational difference there in how we see things. But yeah, that could be a problem. But easy though, because even when you date across country and stuff, already have such a cultural difference that it's already, I mean, doesn't really stop people from dating across borders and stuff like that.
No,
So
but it's just a waste of time. Yeah, it's just a waste of time. But and especially if a woman is in her late 20s and she wants to settle down and she wants to have a family, have kids, then any woman with any brains isn't going to date cross country.
yeah,
I mean, because
it's
you got to figure out a way to get married, to this visas, immigration, citizenship, landed immigrant status. Like, it's just a big giant mess. And so a woman who wants to settle down is going to want to date a guy in her local environment who has a relatively easy time of getting married and having kids.
Sorry, Stefan, I misled you there, because what I mean is I'm already abroad right now. So what I mean is like anyone I would date, which are perfectly as a resident here for them, I would already be like a cultural difference because I'm living in another country already. So I come with my own cultural background. So it's not about cross border really. It's like I'm already a resident here, but for her, it will still be like a big cultural difference. I mean, depending
Okay,
on
got it.
on the
Sorry, I
person.
thought you meant if she was looking for a cross country. Okay,
Yeah.
my apologies. So sorry if I misunderstood. Okay,
Uh,
all right. So, do you want a Hispanic or Latina woman, or what is it that you would prefer?
that's not one of my big criteria. It's more, again, as I say, for me, it's really about to have a good one-on-one relationship, deep relationship with the person. So I don't have this kind of standard like brunette or a blonde or whatever. I don't really think in those terms.
Okay, and what else do you think might be an issue?
What else would I think would be an issue? Hmm. Yeah, and as I told you, Stefan, it's not like I'm giving much thought about dating, about all that. So that's actually a pretty advanced question for me about dating. Because I don't give that
But
much
you're
of
in
my
your
max.
40s, bro, and you want a family.
Yeah, shit.
So what the
Maybe,
fuck
yeah,
are you
maybe,
not thinking about dating for? I mean, it's fine if you don't want to have a
yeah,
family. Okay, hang on. It's fine if you don't want to have
yeah,
a family, but if you do want a family, if I was in my 40s and I said, yeah, I'm thinking about becoming an engineer, but I haven't looked into it at all, what would you say?
yeah. And maybe, yeah, time flies. Uh, didn't think about it. Didn't think about it.
Okay. So, would you like to know some of the challenges that you will have to overcome to get a wife and children?
My first answer would have been no, Stefan. I'm like, well,
It's your
not
call.
especially,
Yeah, it's
no,
listen,
but
it's your call. It's your call. If you
no,
tell me, hang on. So if you tell me that you want to be a father, you want to have a wife and kids,
yeah,
and you're in your 40s, you're almost out of time. You're almost
yeah.
out of
Okay,
time.
give me advice. Give
No,
me
no. So
advice. Give me
listen, if
advice.
you want to talk about something else, see, your initial question was, why do I ruminate? Why do I obsess over
Exactly.
betrayals and problems? And that's because you're isolated, and we are a social animal. Human beings are social animals. Even, and I say this with great caution, even engineers are social animals. And so the reason why we have eyes in the front of our heads is because we are a predator species, and that means who is the eyes in the back of our head is our companions, our friends, our family. They see what we cannot, which is why if you're a soldier and you're alone in enemy territory, you're going to be pretty jumpy because you don't have anyone watching your back, right? I mean, if you've ever seen these movies like Braveheart or something, they have these big chaotic fight scenes. Everybody's whacking each other with swords and clubs and maces and so on and morning stars. Well, I would not want to be in any kind of battle like that if I was separated from somebody I really trusted, because what you want to do is you want to be back to back facing the enemy so that they said, covering your 6, right? 6 p.m. is like the reverse of you, right? So the reason why you're jumpy and the reason why you obsess over things and are very anxious about betrayals and so on is you're alone. So I'm trying to help you solve the problem of being alone. Now, you've had 35 years to solve the problem of being alone with friends. And for whatever reason, it doesn't really matter. You haven't done it because you don't talk to your friends about what's important in your life. Because if you'd have said to your friends, I really want to get married and have kids, but I have no interest in dating, what would your friends say? They'd
Is it
say
a
that's
rhetorical
dumb.
question? Or?
Yeah, they'd say that's dumb. Like you've got to choose one or the other. And they'd also say, so you've kept all your hair, right?
Yeah, I tell you, the truth, Stefan. Is like, I think I come out to my friends are extremely determined kind of person. I'm
Okay,
very,
hang on. Have you kept all your hair?
yes,
Right. And so you look younger. And so for you, the passage of time, other than your health issues, maybe they're somewhat age related, but probably not in your 30s and 40s. So you are not noticing the passage of time because you're a man. And one of the ways that men notice the passage of time is we start to lose hair. Now, if you've made it to your 40s without losing hair, you're not probably going to lose your hair. So it's one of the reasons why men lose their hair, is so that we notice the passage of time and we move more quickly. And so you, as you said, you look young. People think you're 35 and you're in good shape. And you probably don't feel much different than when you were 25, right? Other than the health issues.
You're correct.
Right. So you're not really noticing the passage of time. It's like Groundhog Day. And men can do that with the sort of copy paste of everything's fine. And, I look, I'm sure you look pretty much the same as you did 10 years ago and all of that. So, and you don't have arthritis and you don't have like all of these things. So either your friends are in a similar situation and nobody is really noticing the passage of time, or they are moving on with their lives and maybe leaving you behind because their lives are very different. If they have wives and kids, it's just a very different life. But for some reason, nobody is telling you, nobody is like knuckling your head, rapping you on the head and said, time is passing. You're getting older. You're getting less appealing to younger women as a whole. Now, again, you look good. Great. You've got money. That's great. But I'll tell you two things you don't have. That is going to be a big negative for women. Are you ready?
I'm writing down.
No, it's a recorded call, so you can always listen back.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. This is not a test, right? So, number one is you don't have any family support. So when a woman gets married, she marries into a family. Men tend to look at women as individuals. Women, if they're wise, look at men as part of a family structure. So if she is going to marry into a family, or if she's going to marry you, would she rather you have close family members that she likes, or would she rather you don't have any close family members?
Of course, you're right.
Right. So you don't have a mom and a dad and siblings that she can have come over, help her raise the kids, big family barbecues. She's going to be isolated in raising children, right?
Right.
Now, she, of course, could have her own family, and that's fine. But if she is close to her own family and she says, oh, yeah, no, I met this guy. He's in his mid-40s, and he barely talks to any of his family members, and his sister has gone missing, and nobody knows where she is, and his mother went crazy, and his parents have been fighting each other in the courts for over 15 years. What is her father and mother going to say to her?
Yeah.
What will they say?
Well, it's not a viable option.
Yeah, I mean, they'll say, it really depends how many abs he has. I'm just kidding,
Yeah,
right?
but you're right in the way that I'm actually, I don't know if it's subconscious, but I'm actually looking for a woman who has a big family.
Sure,
Well,
and that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense, because you want your children to be raised with other people around, extended family, aunts, uncles, grandparents. I mean, that's all nice. So you're looking for a woman from a good family, and that's fine. But if you had two job offers, and one job offer was from a company that had lots of investment support and the business partners really got along and they'd been in business for a long time, versus another company that the business partners have been fighting in court for 15 years and they have no line of credit, no investment support, which would you go with?
Yeah, of course, the functional company.
Right. So you want a functional company to merge with your dysfunctional company. And a woman of wisdom who's close to her parents, if I always think about, my lovely daughter and so on, if she was to get involved with a guy, it wouldn't be a deal breaker. Like, your family of origin is not a deal breaker. Do you know why?
She would rely on her family.
Well, no, because it's not your fault. It's not your fault where you're born, right? You didn't choose your family,
Okay.
Now, if you had, like, your 5-year relationship, that is your responsibility. That is your, quote, fault, because you chose that. But you didn't choose the family you were born into, right? I mean, I would never want to be judged by the family that I was born into, and it certainly wasn't my fault. And so, as a concerned father with a daughter, if she's dating someone, I am not going to blame the person for the family they were born into. I am going to hold the person accountable for how they behave as an adult. Now, so that's number one, is that you have confusing and somewhat complicated family relationships. And again, you're not in touch with your sisters, you're not in touch with your mother, but you are in touch with your father. And it's a little complicated. I mean, because you still have an attachment to some degree. And the reason why women are concerned about those kinds of attachments is if you get married, let's say you get married over the next couple of years, how old is your father?
Almost 70 now. I think 69 or 70.
Right. So what is a woman going to be concerned about?
I don't know.
Well, it means that in probably about 10 years, maybe sooner, maybe later, but in probably 8 to 10 years, your father is going to start getting old people stuff.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
Right? I mean, you can hold it off, you can push it off, and some people are very lucky, but most people have multiple comorbidities when they get old. Now, have you thought ever, and this is man to man, so maybe you have, maybe you haven't, I doubt you have. Have you ever thought man to man, how am I going to best take care of my father when he gets old?
I actually did. Yeah, I actually did. I considered the question quite a long time ago. Like maybe again in my 30s, or maybe I don't know, 5, 8 years ago. And I don't think it's like problem. I'm very split on that, because even if my father didn't give me much, it was never there and stuff. I'm thinking I still have a duty, toward my father. But he has been so living his own life. Like, and to give you an idea, when I was young, so I went to this boarding school, and then for the holidays I would have to come back, because there is a boarding school tell you to go back once a year back to your parents. And my father sometimes would say, "Well, you can come here. It's like you can come to my place. I'm busy and stuff like that." So I'm thinking now we are living in different countries. If he has a problem, so he has he has not remarried, but he has this woman with him for 20 years now. And I'm thinking, well, it's his problem. It's like he cannot ask me to take care of him when he's old, when he never took care of me when I was young. It's a bit like but I'm a bit split, because I'm still thinking, well, he made mistake maybe in the education, but I can help. So I would probably, probably pay or something like that. But again, to give you an idea, to what's really happening, I literally invite my father to come over. So I say, "Hey, you come over, I will pay and stuff." He doesn't want to go. He's like, "No." And the no is not like a nice no. It's like, "Nah, it's bothering me. Nah." This is
Well, and I don't think he's done much to help you with your health issues.
Absolutely not. Nothing.
Okay. So why is your father still in your life? I'm not saying whether he should or shouldn't be. I'm just trying to understand.
Well, he's not, he does, what I understood, that he has a culture, first of all. He was in this kind of baby boomers, and a lot of people in this generation are like that. I mean, he's probably the archetype. But then he's not nasty, he's not trying to, he's still like, every 2 months, if I'm not calling, he's calling. Okay. So it's not like he's totally cutting any form of relationship. And he never wronged me. He never did anything wrong toward me. Maybe he didn't want me. He was going through the divorce back in the day. So I don't know if I'm trying to find excuses for him, but I can tell you for sure it had a big toll on him, this divorce proceeding. And so this was the period where he would tell me not to come to his place and stuff. And then I always leave a chance for people to evolve and, understand things. And over the years, first I was maybe calling only once a year. But then I found out that, yeah, every 2 months is actually fine. And if I don't call, he's calling. So it's like going in circle, it's like maybe as he gets older, he's understanding some stuff. Maybe he thinks he didn't spend enough time. I don't know. Um, but he's still in my life because I can't really say he's in my life. I don't expect any advice from him. I'm just checking on him. He's checking on me. This kind of relationship. There is no, I wouldn't say he's in my life. Like, it's not bothering me. It's not, yeah. I don't know if I get my points through. It's very difficult to express.
No, I get it. So you feel that your father
Okay.
never did you any wrongs?
No.
None, not one. In 40 plus years. Never did anything wrong. Hang on. You're an engineer, so I need you to be precise, right? Your father did you no wrong.
Wow. Not like the other did.
Sorry, not like what?
Not like the other member of my family did.
Well,
The other member of my family really, like, for no reason, like, just kicked me out of their life. I really felt like I was innocent. But my father, he never like did anything like specifically against me or anything like that. He was answering my calls, and yeah, we'll see me in the dialogue
okay,
phase.
so
He
hang on.
never cut the
So
dialogue.
hang on. So if your father never did anything wrong, then he would be a perfect father.
Okay,
Come
maybe
on,
I'm a bit too
engineer.
nice to
Let's
him.
be logic.
Yeah, I'm a bit too nice to him. I'm a bit too nice to him. Yeah.
He was a perfect father. He chose a
No.
perfect mother. He was there. He was attentive. He was thoughtful. He gives you advice. He gives you feedback. How can he be a selfish boomer archetype who worked away from home for months and months, sent you to boarding
Yeah.
school, fights with your mother for 15 years, and has no relationship with his daughter, who's left and fled the family? How can he be all of those things and a perfect father?
Well, I don't say he's a perfect father, okay? I say he didn't do anything specifically targeting at me. Okay, maybe he was selfish, okay? Obviously, but he comes from a very, very poor background. So it was like, it was not like he had like a possibility to be nicer. So he really had to move his ass to get things going, because a very, very poor background, huge family, many children and stuff like that. He was himself on his own. So he had to carry himself through the goal line somehow. Then he was absent because he had to bring the money to the family, right? And yeah, but then I don't say at all he's a good father, in no aspect at all. In no aspect. But I don't say he didn't like purposefully was mean to me at any point in time. He's a very fair guy, actually. He's like, when he has some small conversation, he's very rational. Uh, he never cut a dialogue, even when the dialogue gets heated. But he was not a good father. That I cannot say that. He was not a good father, but he was not a nasty person or anything like that.
Okay. So you said he had no money when you were younger. Is that right?
Yes.
So how did, and I'm sure maybe it was a scholarship or something, but boarding school is very expensive. I know. I went to boarding school, or usually, I mean, the costs are very high. So how did he pay for boarding school?
He did that. I was super good, and I got this scholarship.
Okay, so all of the boarding school was paid for.
I chose to go. My parents were shocked when I told them, you know what? They were fighting or something, and I stopped there and I said, you know what? Next year I'm gonna go to this school. And it was coming out of the blue. They didn't have a clue.
Okay, so I was just sorry. I was just trying to, I
everything.
understand. You mentioned that, so I just want to make sure I understand the finances. Okay, so what was the primary reason you wanted to leave your family? You said your parents were fighting and so on, right?
That's it, yeah.
Okay, so is it bad to have so many fights in front of your children that your child wants to move out? How old were you when you went to boarding school?
15.
Okay, but I assume that you looked into it before that because you wanted to get out, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So is it bad to fight with your partner, your wife, your husband, to the point where your child wants to flee the house?
I never gave it a thought.
Well, give it one now.
Yeah, I give it why not, and I feel actually a bit emotional. I never thought about it before.
Go on.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I guess I witnessed stuff which were not I was not supposed to witness as a kid. Yeah.
Like what?
Well, the fighting. The fighting between my parents, and sometimes physical violence. And my mother was first initiating the violence. It's difficult. Difficult.
What levels of violence? I'm so sorry, by the way.
Well, they were throwing stuff at each other, not really my father, actually, it's my mother. She was really throwing stuff at my father, this kind of violence. Very rarely my father would fight back, but he would in a couple of opportunities, which I didn't directly witness, but I was in my room and I would hear the fighting, and then my father would leave the house for some reason, and start walking away from the house. You don't know where he would go, still.
I'm so sorry about all of that. How often would they fight, and what are your earliest memories of that conflict?
It started maybe I was around 9 years old, and up to several years later when I left, they were still fighting. And basically, my joining of the boarding school was concomitant, to say that, with them kind of splitting there and living in separate houses. Yeah.
Sorry, just say that again?
15, sorry. When I was 15, when I joined the boarding school, this is also the time my parents decided to split physically. They would start living in different places. Before they were under the same roof, and then they separated. And I remember that vividly, because then I had to kind of negotiate with my parents to know which one would welcome me for the holidays, because now they were living in two different places. So yeah, this is what happened.
And sorry, how old were you when they separated?
So when they separated physically, living in different places, I was 15. This is the same time I joined the boarding school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
Maybe I gave
before
her some ideas.
9... Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Maybe I just gave him some ideas, but just leaving, they say, "Hey, I can do that too." I don't know. But yeah, it was the exact same moment.
And before 9, they didn't fight. And is that in part because your father was away all the time?
Yeah, he was an absentee father. Typical absentee father. Yeah.
Right. But I'm not sure what that means. Was he working on an oil rig or something like that?
Yeah. Between the age of, when I was born to when I was 7, my father was months away. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't want to say too much there, but he was months away out of the house, and my mother was alone raising 3 kids.
Okay. All right. And why do you think your father? It's not just money, because lots of parents don't do that, right? And so, why do you think he was away so much?
I really think he wanted to succeed in a way that he would have like a stable financial situation to provide. When I see what happened afterwards, where he was really trying to get this financial freedom and stuff, I think it was important for him, starting from this poor background.
And so, how long? I know it's hard to remember sometimes, but how long was he gone? How much time was he home?
I don't even remember seeing him before I was 7 years old. I don't have any memory of me and my father. Even after that, even after 7 years, I have very, very few memories of my youth, in particular of my father. I don't even remember one moment we shared, maybe one or two. Talking to you, it's the first time I'm thinking that, okay, it's not a normal situation. I never thought about it before. So, I thought about it in the way that I knew for sure that my father was an absentee father. That is not something I want if I have children and stuff like that. But I never thought about it in relationship to me. I was thinking about the choice he made, but I didn't think about my involvement in that. I feel kind of detached from that somehow. Clarify. In my head, there was stuff which were happening in my family, a dysfunctional family. Okay, my father, my mother, my sister, and there was me beside them. trying to get away from that. So it's for me, there is me and my family who run really one unit at any point in time. Yeah, it's a bit tough to say that, but yeah, that's the truth.
Okay. So, with your adult understanding, why do you think your father was away so long?
Well, now I can think that he was trying to escape a little bit, of course, maybe duties to be a father, or maybe he didn't even like know what to do. I mean, he was pretty young when the first child came. I think, it was like back in the days. I think he was maybe 19 or something like that. Maybe he was not even conscious of his role, that what he should do. And he kind of escaped a little bit. That could be an option. Uh, Maybe he married the wrong woman. It's also very hard to say, but well, the reality is there. And also, well, some children, I know that I was desired. I know that my younger sister was a surprise. Okay, so, because when there is this divorce proceeding at home, in a violent way, they are throwing stuff at each other, which are super hardcore, right? They are throwing, yeah, da, 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 da. They are fighting, and you hear about everything. Very, very tough. And so you hear about those stuff. You hear like, okay, my older sister was desired, I was desired, but my younger sister was a surprise. It doesn't mean it was actually she was a favorite at the end, but it doesn't mean like, yes, it doesn't mean she was not taken care of, but yeah, there was some, lack of decisions, some point like of, they didn't really plan much. Typical poor family stuff, where people are not really aware. They just move on and try to make it as they go.
Okay. And do you know when your mother started showing severe mental instability?
Yeah, it was like when I father came. I mean, when I was around 10, for sure, it was probably extenuated, raising three children alone. But there is also a past in her family of mental disorders, so it's not like the background was not there. And then she had probably, oh yeah, I don't want to do like over the counter psychology, but the word which will come back would be bipolar and stuff like that.
Okay. Got it. Got it. So, most likely, your father had remote work or worked away from home because he was fighting too much with your mother.
So I didn't see them fighting before I was 10, and he actually
Because
came
he was
back.
away.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, you
Okay,
said you
sorry.
can't even remember your father being home.
Yeah, it was not even there, so I couldn't. Okay, okay, good point.
So, what
Yeah.
that means in general, and we're just guessing here, right? But what that means is that your father couldn't handle or stand your mother, so he left and worked far away.
Uh, I'm not sure. I think they had a period of they went low.
I'm sorry, say
As a
again?
popular said. I think they actually had a period when they were in love, and it was a good start. But at this moment, my father was already away. So yeah, when my mother married my father, she knew already that he would be away. It's not like my father was not working already. He was working already in this very bizarre uh, months away from the family. He knew from the beginning. It was not a surprise.
Right. Okay.
Mm.
So that's not great, right?
It is not.
And that is pretty unpleasant, right?
It's terrible. Terrible feeling.
Right. Okay. So why do you think your father never said to you why he was away for so long?
This is a very good question, Stefan. Actually, very recently, like a year ago, I started to ask him questions like that. Not that question, but I asked him, for example, hey, why didn't you never tell me about your friends? So his friends, okay? Yeah, do you even have friends? I asked my father, do you have friends? I don't even know anything about your life. So we are not yet me asking him why he was away so much, but I know nothing about that guy. it's like, this is what I say. I mean, for me, it was me and there was the rest of the family, and I didn't really understand what they were doing. So I really don't know him much, and I'm really far away from asking him this kind of question.
Well,
Yeah.
do you think that he would tell the truth?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Why do you think he would tell the truth?
Because he's old now, and you know, that he cares less than he would have. Like, he has changed over 20 years. The last 20 years, he has changed
Okay.
slowly but surely. Yeah.
Okay. So if your father can tell the truth and your father is a good father in the present, then why has he not talked to you about being single in your 40s?
Well, I'm gonna tell you something, Stefan, about what you said earlier, and it's incredibly on point. And I'm so pleased to have this conversation with you just for that. You say before that I still have my hair and so on. Well, listen to what happened. The last time I saw my father in the flesh, which was like 3 years ago, and before that it was 10 years, okay, to give you an idea. 3 years ago, I saw him for the first time since 10 years. He actually pointed at my hair and say, "Hey, you have lost a little bit there on the side." And I was like, what the heck? I haven't seen my father for that long, and he's talking about my hair. And I was like, I never give it to suit my own hair. I was like, yeah, whatever. And he said, oh, you have some white hair. And I have a bit of white hair for 10 years, right? But still, just a few. It doesn't grow. And so I'm like, why is my father talking about my hair? He didn't say anything about the relationship between my hair and dating or woman or anything. And it's very
Okay,
interesting.
hang on. Sorry to interrupt. So you've seen your father twice in 13 years?
Yeah.
Bro, come on.
Well, so maybe more than that, not even. Let me think. Yeah, it was in 13 years, yeah. And I would
You've
say,
seen your father twice in 13 years, and you both have money and you can travel.
yeah.
Has your father given you any feedback or thoughts on your life goal, your life mission, what we talked about earlier? Does he even know about it?
No, he's not talking about that.
Okay,
Not talking about that.
this is all so terrible. I can't even tell you.
Already, I don't know.
This is just
I don't know.
appalling.
All right.
What kind of bullshit is this?
Well, you tell me. I don't have a
No,
clue.
it's
It's the
your
first time I'm
father.
doing this. Yeah.
Like, what is the point of any of this? He doesn't care that you're single. He only pulls some bullshit status thing about, oh, your hair is losing a bit of hair. Doesn't ask you about your life mission. Doesn't ask you. I mean, did he give you any feedback on your relationship from 25 to 30? Or like, what? What is this? Like, what are you doing? Why do you put up with
Well,
so little?
again, I don't put that much. I mean, again, it's not like I consider him like a source of truth, or I tell you, I don't even specifically think of him as my father, in the way that everything I think of a good father should be, like transmitting values and so on. He has none of it. So I consider my education came from the boarding school. And I'm so grateful to the boarding school to have given me this education. I'm saying, wow, I wouldn't have had any clue about life otherwise. So I don't take it as a role model. I still think he's my father, and he's more like a distant friend. But I'm very honest with myself in this relationship.
Okay, so
I
hang
absolutely
on.
know that
Sorry, I
my
want to make
father
sure.
didn't play
Hang on. Sorry to interrupt. I want to make sure that we're efficient. So the only reason he's in your life is because he's your father, but you don't consider him your father.
Exactly.
But that's ridiculous. If he's going to get special privileges and he's going to be in your life because he's your father, then you have to treat him as a father. And if you don't treat him as a father, then why is he in your life? I mean, if he was just some guy who was in his late 60s or whatever it is, just some guy who had all the same characteristics as your father but wasn't your father, would he be in your life?
Of course not. Of
Right.
course not.
So he's only in your life because he's your father, so he gets special privileges. Okay, that's fine. But then you have to treat him as a father and have the expectations of him as a father.
Ah,
Right? If I say, look, I run a hospital and I'm going to pay this doctor an extra 50% because this doctor is a brilliant brain surgeon and I pay him an extra 50%, and then I never have him do any brain surgery, does that make any sense?
You're right, Stefan. You're right.
So the problem is that it's your self-respect that the woman is going to have trouble with.
Yes.
Why would you put up with terrible parenting? Listen, neglect is a serious form of child abuse. And neglect is when you are selfish with regards to your children. Or rather, your selfishness does not include their happiness.
Mm.
You know, if my daughter, I'm tired, I want to go to bed, my daughter has something she wants to talk about and wants to go for a walk, what do I do?
Say your daughter you want to go for a walk?
No, I'm tired, I want to go to bed, and my daughter has
Yeah.
something she wants to talk about and she wants to go for a walk and talk about it. What do I do?
Of course, you go talk with her about it.
Yeah,
Important.
I mean, if we're up till 4 a.m, we're up till 4 a.m, whatever,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
I mean, I can go through a day tired and all of that. So, your father, what sacrifices has he made for you? How has he focused on
None.
your happiness and what's best for you?
Right. None.
Right. So if you say someone can treat me like shit and they're still in my life, what does that say to a woman?
Well, yeah, Stefan, he's not really in my life. Okay, it's like we check on each other. So I tell you what, you are missing an element, and you're gonna say how. So the thing is, I have Christian values, and as a Christian, I need to keep an eye on my parents. This is a duty I feel because of my Christian values. But I keep the smallest eye possible. Okay, and again, I don't expect anything from him. I know that he didn't pay his role, and I'm not looking at him for advice. So it's really I'm checking on him because I always, again, in the last years, I saw that he was changing his speech about some stuff. Again, I don't know how
Okay,
deep
sorry
it
to
goes.
interrupt. I apologize. I know I said don't talk over me, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just don't want to run out of time without getting to the heart of the matter.
No problem.
So you are a Christian, and for how long have you been a Christian?
Mostly forever.
Okay, fantastic. So you're a virgin.
No, I'm not.
No. You are. I know you are. Because you're not married, right?
I'm not married.
Yeah, so you have to be a virgin, otherwise you've committed the serious sin called fornication, right? Which is having sex outside of marriage. So you are a virgin, and that's another problem because if you're in your 40s with zero sexual experience, that's going to be a big problem. Unless,
Stefan,
hang on. Sorry, go ahead.
Not a virgin, huh?
No, but you are because you're a Christian and you take your Christianity so seriously that you'll keep a terrible father in your life. So
I do the minimum, huh?
I'm sorry?
I'm basically calling, like having a phone call with my father every 2 months. I think 20-minute phone call every 2 months. Before that, years without communication because I was kind of banning him from my life. I think it's very, very little.
Okay, so hang on. So you are not taking care of your parents?
No.
Okay, so honor thy mother and thy father, and you're not either keeping people out of your life who treat you badly or indifferently, and you're also not keeping your vows and taking care of your parents.
I talked to my pastor about it, and I say, hey, I'm in this complex situation. Years ago, I already talked to pastors about it. Say, what should I do? And they tell me, it's really complicated in your case. So you can pray for it and stuff, but obviously in your case, it's like you did I told them what I had done. I said, well, you did a lot already. So, if it's not working, you can keep your distances. Stay safe, keep your distances. So I kept my distances, and obviously with my mother, and then with my father, and then, my father still answered my call. So
okay,
this is what
so
happened.
if your father, for some reason, ends up unable to care for himself, you will just pay money to put him in a home or something like that, right?
I don't know. I don't know if I would even do that. I don't want to get involved.
Okay,
Difficult.
so if he ends up homeless, then he ends up homeless.
I don't think it will end up on my see.
If hypothetical,
Yeah.
Mr. Engineer, if the blueprint is not the bridge, I understand. Okay, go ahead.
If I'm aware of it, if he's not too proud to say it and stuff, probably I would try to do something to help a little bit.
Okay. So the other issue that a younger woman is going to have with you is lack of successful relationship experience. So you're in your 40s and you've had 1 5-year relationship that was long distance, like multi-country. So it doesn't really count because you're not doing the day-to-day. And she's also... I'm sorry?
You didn't get it right. I was 5 years with my girlfriend. It was not a distance relationship. It was a close relationship. I was in her country.
Oh, you didn't want to stay and you were trying to figure out where you were going to end up in the long run.
Exactly.
Okay. So you were in a 5-year relationship and then you said it just didn't feel right towards the end and you left, right?
Exactly.
And did your girlfriend do anything bad or wrong? Did she cheat on you? Did she become a drug addict? Did she hide a huge amount of debt from you? Did she gain 100 pounds? Did your girlfriend do something really bad or wrong to have you leave her after 5 years?
Okay, nothing.
I'm sorry?
Strictly nothing wrong.
Okay, so a woman is going to say, okay, so this guy can invest 5 years in a relationship and then just leave even though nothing bad happened. So how does that make her trust you enough to have your children? Also, you've been 12 or 13 years or whatever it is without a relationship, which means you're perfectly fine. As you say, you're kind of introverted and you're perfectly fine on your own. Now, what the woman will probably think, just to be blunt, is that you are a masturbation addict because you don't have a woman in your life, but you're still a man. You have sexual needs. So you are probably a masturbation addict. And that's going to be a big problem when it comes to a healthy sex life because men and women are designed to have sex, to have healthy sex lives. And so one of the reasons why you don't need a woman is because you masturbate. And again, you don't have to tell me anything you don't want to. And I'm just telling you from the female perspective. If a man has been without a woman for 13 years or 12 years, I mean, it's not like he's never had an orgasm or only night emissions or whatever it is. And so then the woman is just going to assume that you are a masturbation addict, possibly a pornography addict, and so on. And she doesn't want to necessarily deal with all of that and all of those problems. So yeah, you have friends who don't really care that much about you because they're not asking you anything important about your life. You have a mother you don't see. You have sisters you don't see. You have a father you barely see, but keep him in your life for reasons of Christianity. But that same Christianity has not prevented you from sleeping with a woman for 5 years and then dumping her for no particular reason that was important. And so how do you look to a young, attractive woman who has a lot of options? I mean, okay, so you're a good-looking guy, or at least you stay young and fit. Young-looking and fit, and that's good. You have some money, which is good. But for a woman, she has to look and say, can I trust him with everything for the rest of my life? Because that's what women do, right? If they're going to have kids with you can have 1 kid, 2 kids, 3 kids. She is trusting you to take care of her and the children pretty much for the rest of her life, especially if you homeschool or things like that. And then she's going to give up her career and whatever it is. So she's going to look at you. And is she going to see a guy? You say, well, I don't really need relationships, romantic relationships. I wandered off from the last one. I just wander all over the place. And I move from place to place. I quit jobs. I move countries. And she's going to empathize with the woman you dated for 5 years and then left. And she's also going to notice your empathy. In other words, if you say, yeah, I just kind of got bored or it didn't feel right, so I left her. And that's why I said earlier, you weren't with her because of weather. And you said, yes, but I'm Hispanic and it's really cold. And it's like, well, okay, so she's going to notice that. And is she going to notice you saying something like, yeah, I feel really bad. I wasted 5 years of her life. I have a long time to have kids. She doesn't. And I feel really bad for being in the relationship for so long. I feel really bad about the way I left. And I feel really bad that I took 5 of her highest sexual market value years and gave her nothing in return. She didn't get any property. She didn't get any kids. She didn't get any alimony. She didn't get any marital vows and so on. And she's also, if you're going to claim Christianity, she's going to notice your relationship to sin, because it was a sin, again, unless I misunderstand my Christianity, it was a sin to spend 5 years having sex with a woman with no commitment and no ring and no marriage, and then just leaving her because it was cold where she was and you got kind of bored or felt that things were off or wrong. So a woman is going to be scanning you. Will she give you her entire life? Because again, if she's going to have your kids, and you want to be a good parent, and I'm sure you do, right? You listen to this show. So that means probably homeschooling, and that means that she is going to give up all of her source of income. She is going to give up everything for you. And are you a bridge she wants to take the heaviest truck on? Let me give you a minor engineering analogy here. I mean, maybe you're an electrical engineer, a computer engineer, but if you are going to drive, you've got a big, big heavy truck. You're delivering 100 anvils or something to some place, right? And you got a bridge to drive across. And you look at that bridge. It's not on the map, let's say. You look at that bridge, and you're going to have to drive your heavy, heavy truck across that bridge. So what women do is they look at how sturdy that bridge is. How stable is that bridge? Now, if nobody's used that bridge in 13 years and it's kind of falling apart and it hasn't been maintained, is she going to want to drive across that bridge?
Obviously not.
Right. And this is why I say, for you, it's fine that you kept your hair. That's great. But you're almost out of time. Because much longer, and you will not get a high-quality woman, because a high-quality woman has high standards. My wife and I make jokes from time to time about her very high standards, and she always says, you should be very happy about my very high standards, because that's why I was available to marry. And it's true. She has very high standards. So I want you to look from the outside in, because as men, we generally look from the inside out, and that's fine. But women are going to look at you. You are on the market, and you have to figure out what the woman you want wants. What does she want? Does she want a guy with no close relationships, with a really messed up family, with a father who's still in his life, and he thinks somehow, because you're not noticing the passage of time, so you think somehow that having your father in your life is going to be the same going forward as it was for the last 13 years, but it won't be. He's going to get old, he's going to get needy, and maybe he'll leave you alone. Maybe he'll really want resources, especially if he's estranged from his other kids or something like that, right? So she's just noticing that. Do you have a plan, and do you have a sense of the passage of time? Now, right now, does she get a sense that you are processing the passage of time and how you're aging?
It's a potential woman. Is it a rhetoric question, or it's very hard because you are everything? A real question.
Yes.
Well, the picture you are painting is not exactly true, but I'm not going to nitpick. In fact, what happened is like I never even get into dating. I mean, into talking to a woman enough. So when I lived 5 years with this woman, it was quite traumatizing for me to leave her. Okay, it was not, and it was not just because it was cold. It was I was actually suffering, and I was telling her I was suffering, but there was not much that she could do apparently. But so it was very traumatizing for me. And then I was a long period where I didn't want to even try to date or anything. But if I'm thinking about right now, I don't even go deep enough in the conversation with a woman to talk about this kind of subject or even think about this kind of subject, because right now I haven't found any woman that I'm even remotely interested in. It's hard to say, but I don't know if it's because I'm not doing out enough.
Stop. Do you remember my question?
Sorry. You said what the woman would see in me right now, and
No, what was my specific question? I'm not trying to be a nag
sure.
here. It's just that a woman is going to notice if you listen to her or not, or if you just go off on what you want to talk about, because you are trying to wrestle control of the conversation from me, which is why you said, well, I interrupt you because you need more information.
You're
It's
right.
like, bro, hang on. You said, well, Steph, I need to interrupt you because you need more information. It's like, I will ask for what I want. You don't get to dictate what I do and don't need in order to make my feedback, in order to give my feedback. If I need something, I will ask for it, but you're trying to decide what I need. And so you need to listen to people better. And we all do, right? But you've been alone for a long time. So when you talk about your ex-girlfriend, the 5-year relationship, I'll tell you what a woman hears. I'll tell you directly what a woman hears. So she'll notice when you don't answer her question. My question specifically was, will a woman understand that you are processing the passage of time, or will she think you're stuck in a loop? Right? My question was, will the woman notice that you are noticing the passage of time and you went off on something about what I'd gotten wrong? And then when you talk about your ex, you said to me, I suffered a lot in the breakup, right?
Yes.
Okay. What's missing from that equation?
Well, we both suffered a lot in this.
Did you say that?
No, because I want to speak for her. But
okay, no, but that's just an excuse. So, was it more costly for your girlfriend those 5 years, or was it more? Because I've said this now at least 3 or 4 times. Was it more costly for your girlfriend, or was it more costly for you to have nothing come out of those 5 years?
Most costly for her.
Fantastic. Okay. Now you said, oh, but we stayed friends and it was fine. And then, oh, can you believe she had another child and we did the math going back and blah, 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 right? But you didn't talk at all about how your decision to leave was devastating to her. Or you didn't talk at all about anything that she suffered. You talked about how, gosh, can you believe she had a child so quickly and so on, right? And so women will notice that. A quality woman will notice that, because a quality woman is looking for empathy, for you to really show that you care about other people. And how do you think you come across that way?
Well, as someone who does not have much empathy.
Well, you don't care that much about people, and you say that very clearly, right? You say, I'm an introvert, and I don't really have much to do with my family, and it doesn't seem to bother you. And then you say, well, I broke up with this girlfriend because she lived in a really cold country and all of that, and I'm Hispanic, and I need the heat, and blah, 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 right? And then, but we stayed friends, and I moved on. She had another kid. Can you believe she had another kid? That's crazy, right? And all of that. And so when you're doing all of that stuff, and every woman of quality, sorry, let me just interrupt myself. Every woman of quality knows that we desperately need feedback in this life to make better decisions. So you and I have been talking for a little under 2 hours. And have I given you some important feedback about your life?
If you gave me important feedback, absolutely.
Okay, so this is 2 hours out of 40 plus years. And a woman will absolutely know that you don't have people in your life giving you this kind of feedback, right?
She will know it. Yeah.
Okay. So you don't have people who are caring about you, and you don't notice that. Because you didn't call me up and say, Steph, I've listened to your show. I've listened to these deep call-in shows that you have. And none of this is a criticism. I'm just pointing it out, right? But you didn't call me up and say, Steph, the way that you talk with these callers, or the way that you talk about your relationships or your marriage or whatever, like, wow, I really don't have that in my life. I don't have people who really care about me, who give me feedback, and so on. You called me and you were quite proud in your own way, or at least it was not a negative. You say, yeah, I'm introverted, I'm independent. I can talk to women, but I don't, and I'm fine on my own, and right. So if you say to a woman, I don't need people, is she going to fall in love with you?
I don't say that. I talk a lot to women. I actually have female woman friends instead of sometimes man friends, and I'm wondering where the men's down. I don't know.
Okay, fine. Hang on. Sorry to interrupt. So you have female friends. That's great. Have you
Yeah,
told your hang on. Have you told your female friends that you want to get married and have children?
no,
So you don't have female friends. You just got some people you hang around and bullshit with.
no. See, I'm talking to you about that when you make me think about it now, but it's just that it goes over my head.
No, but if you have friends, they ask you stuff like, "Hey, you quit your job. That's interesting. So you have no income. How does that? Like, what do you want out of life?"
And you're right.
I mean,
You're
and
right.
you say, "Well, I want to get married and have kids." They say, "Well, if you've got female friends, they'll give you, and it's very helpful. They'll give you the female perspective, right?"
Right.
And they'll say, there's things about you that are great. And look, there are things about you that are wonderful, right? I mean, you're very intelligent, you're very verbally skilled, and you are a good income earner, and you are fit and good looking. And so, there are things that are real pluses, and that's great. I'm not pointing that out, right? If there's a ding on your car, I'm not going to spend the whole time talking about the things which don't have dings on them, right? So I'm talking about where the minuses are. So you've gotten to the age of your early 40s without anyone helping you figure out what you want in life and how to get there. Does that make sense?
All alone.
I'm sorry?
All alone. Yes. Yes.
Well, and that means that either you're choosing people who aren't curious about you, like you are an actual person, not just somebody who's like funny and you have some warmth to you, and I get all of that. And so you don't have, it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but when I said to you, do you want to get married? There was this kind of pause, like, do I? How many kids do I want? I don't know, right? Like you haven't thought about any of this stuff, which is fine if you're 20, but not in your 40s. Like you don't even know what you want in life in terms of relationships or how to get there.
No.
And that's why you're jumpy, because you're all alone and you've got nobody watching your back and nobody asking you questions and nobody that you're asking these questions of. Have you asked your friends? Hey, what do you want out of life? I mean, are you getting what you want? Let's put our heads together because, maybe you have friends who don't have much contact with their families, or I assume that that's sort of the issue, because if they have contact with their families, your parents are supposed to ask you, how's life going? What do you want? Are you doing well? Are you doing badly? How can I help facilitate what you want? I mean, your parents, right? They're supposed to care about you. And you don't have that. And I'm sorry about that. Like, I really am. I'm sorry about that. And so obviously not your parent, but I guess I could almost be if I was a teenage dad or whatever, right? But
you did more than them so far.
Right. So what I'm trying to point out, and it's very hard to notice what we don't have. It's very hard to notice what we don't have. And that's really one of the worst things. But what I think you don't have, and you can get it, right? But what I think you don't have is people who are helping you raise your head from the day to day. Because the day to day is very consuming. We always have problems to solve. There's always this issue or that issue or this bill or that, whatever, right? Or I got to get a job, or my boss wants this. I got to deliver this by Friday. And I'm going to the gym, and my show is on, or whatever. So there's always these day-to-day things, and that's fine, that's natural. But we gotta raise our head from the trough. Like I always think like pigs with a trough, eating stuff and snuffling stuff and chewing on stuff, and and then they roll in the mud and so on. But every now and then, I think somebody's got to grab that pig by the snout and lift it up and say, "Look, there's a sunset. Look, there's something more than the food and mud and sex and all of that right in front of you." And I think one of the reasons why you're jumpy is that we calm down in community, right? So if you can imagine your ancestors going on hunting trips, well, does everyone go to sleep at night? No. Somebody has to stay up and guard and make sure that animals don't come and just attack people when they're sleeping, or they've got to keep the fire going. And you can't sleep in the wilderness if you're alone. I remember when I was a teenager, some friends of mine and I went hiking in Algonquin Park, and we were supposed to be gone for a week. The trip went to hell, and for a variety of reasons I won't get into here, I ended up having to sleep a night or two in the wild, the deep woods, all alone. Did I get good sleep?
Yeah, and of course not.
Of course not, right? So you are alone, and your life is slipping away from you. If you want a wife and kids, you're almost out of time, which is probably why your balls are calling me, because they want something to do. And I would say that the jumpiness and the people are going to take advantage of me and so on. This is why I said that the way to deal with the injustice of life is to be loved. And that could be by a wife, children, friends, family, whatever, right? But if you're loved, then people can do bad things to you, and maybe you fight them or maybe you don't or whatever, but you get good advice and you have a place you can go where you are treasured. And you don't have that. So you're jumpy because you're sleeping in the woods all alone, and there's the predator called time is circling your tent. Does that make sense?
Not only does it make sense, Stefan, but jumpy is the exact term. I didn't even know this word before, but that's the exact word. And now I start to realize also why I may not have friends, because this will be the next step. And I'm thinking that women, I didn't even think about that, because I'm very friendly in the way that when I see a woman, I don't think of her a potential partner is systematically. Okay, if we are just friends, it's fine by me. And so I'm thinking that the women probably see me as a potential partner and nothing much more because of my age. And other men see me probably as a rival. I mean, that has happened for sure. And so the next question is, where are my people? Where is my crew? I need to work on that, find the right community or society to find people actually I can relate with, and they can watch my back. I don't have that.
You're also, I mean, you could just start asking your friends important questions about their lives and see how they react.
Yeah, okay. So you're not saying that my friends, the fact they didn't ask the question so far, is not specifically that they are bad friends. Because I had this feeling that you are telling me your friends are not really friends. So maybe it's just me also not going towards those subjects, and I should maybe simply ask them about it. What do they think? How do they see me? How do they see the fact that I don't have a woman and everything? I didn't think about asking those kind of questions.
Sure.
Actually, you're right, because I'm not expecting any help from them, and probably because I never got help before. So why would I ask them? Because I'm not expecting them to help me. Like my parents never helped me, so why would anyone help me? Yeah, makes perfect sense.
So, and I can sort of finish on this. So, at the most fundamental level, what are relationships for? I don't think you have much of an answer. I mean, you have an economic answer, right? I mean, relationships are to get paid and make money, and that's fine. You know, those are important relationships. But what are relationships for? I mean, you're fine on your own. And to some degree, we are fine on our own until we're not. Until we get older and you've maybe passed the window for having children, and then you regret, and so on, right? So what are the purpose of relationships? Well, the purpose of relationships is to help us see the things we cannot see ourselves. And we've evolved that way. Again, we have eyes in the front of our head, not the back of our head or on the side of our head, you know, doing that chameleon 360 thing. We've evolved that way because we have people watch our back. If we didn't have anyone to watch our back, we would not have just those eyes. And the reason is because although we are an alpha predator species, we are preyed upon by other human beings. Men are preyed on by other men, which is why men need companions, which is why men need allies, and why men need friends, and so on, right? So the purpose of relationships and what they've evolved to do for us is to help us see what we cannot see. And that's the service I've been doing for decades, which is to help people see what they cannot see. And that's why we have language. That's why we have evolved the way we have. We have evolved with amazing abilities to concentrate. And engineers are famous for their ability to lose track of time and reality and the need to pee and all of that and hygiene when working on a problem, right? I mean, you all focus like crazy, and I understand that. I mean, I have a sort of similar ability. So we're able to focus because we're guarded. And you are focusing, which is great. You've got your life mission, which is wonderful, but you're not guarded. So you're jumpy. Because it's dangerous to concentrate very hard on something if we don't have someone watching our back. And so we have evolved with our consciousness shared with others. We cannot live in an isolated fashion and be fully human and be safe. We are a herd animal. We are social animals. We are dogs, not cats, right? And so you are taking the benefits of shared consciousness in that you can concentrate, you can make money, you can live independently, and so on. And I think the costs are really beginning to accrue, to gather. So you need to rejoin the community. You need to rejoin humanity.
Yeah.
And then you will be safe. You will be relaxed. You will not be jumpy. You will not over-ruminate. So you ruminate because you don't have someone to talk about things with. So they go round and round in your head. So things build up in us like a pressure valve, and we release that pressure valve by talking to people, right? But you don't have anyone to talk to about important issues in your life. So they just go round and round. And that's natural.
All the more, yeah.
I'm sorry?
All the more because I don't know if you got it, but I'm reading this medical problem for the last 5 years. Hopefully it's going to be solved this year. But sometimes I feel like I should just withdraw a little bit. Don't bother people with my problems, withdraw from the, it's a circle because if they ask me how I'm doing, as I'm not doing very well. So don't want to put some negativity around. So just withdraw from the group. I have a tendency to isolate even more myself even more, which is not a solution. It's not a solution.
Right. So the purpose of relationships, as I said, is to help us see the things we cannot see. So this sort of modern thing, maybe a part of it or not. There's a modern thing where we say the purpose of sexual attraction, romantic attraction, is dating and sex and fun and dinners and Netflix and chill or whatever it is. Like it's sort of like a fun, cool, hip thing to have and so on. And that's not that's not it at all. I mean, those things are fine. They're part of it. But the purpose of love, the purpose of pair bonding, is to get through the inevitable, ugly shitstorms of life. I mean, you're in one right now and have been for 5 or 6 years, which is the medical issues. So the reason that we come together is we all end up falling apart at one time or another. It could be because of health issues. It could be politics. It could be career. It could be some relationships. Maybe we get targeted by someone. Like, shitstorms are going to happen in life unless you stay home and do nothing, in which case you end up with the shitstorm called regret and futility. So you're out there doing stuff in the world, which means shit is going to happen. Massive, boiling shitstorms are going to regularly roll through your life if you're doing anything with your life. People are going to be mean to you. People are going to betray you. They're going to undermine you. They're going to attack you, like whatever. And it doesn't have to be a big moral thing like I'm doing. It could just be competition at work or whatever it is, right? People are going to be selfish. People are going to tread all over your feelings and so on. And so the reason why we pair bond is so that we have someone to go through life with. And when you're young, life is fun. You have high school and, the stakes aren't particularly high. You do some dating, you play some sports, and, then you go to college and then you start your career and your health is generally good and you've got lots of energy and you have a lot of fun. And that's fine. That's an important part of life and so on. But as you age, shit starts to accumulate. Bad things start to accumulate. Negative things start to accumulate. And the purpose, of course, of pair bonding, sexual attraction, romantic attraction when you're young is to build the foundation, right, so that you can survive the hurricanes, the storms of life. So, you spend your 20s, you're supposed to dig a foundation, you're supposed to have a lot of positive things, you're supposed to build the house, and you're supposed to make it weatherproof, you're supposed to make it stormproof. And right now, you're kind of in a hut, and storms are coming, and there's been one again with your health issues, but storms are coming, right? Regret, aging, missing out, no kids, no love. And I think that you're getting a sense, because the deepest part of us fully understand the passage of time. And of course, the powers that be want to keep us shallow, want to keep us at the surface. So we don't notice the passage of time and the alterations of our entire countries and all that kind of stuff, right? So you need to love and be loved, because winter is coming. Boy, you think Sweden is cold? Wait, if you're alone and you're 65. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I never gave it a thought, honestly. Even again, because I was a medical problem for the last 5 years, I've been thinking just about the medical problem.
Well, and so
But,
you need to withdraw from relationships, but what deposits have you made? Whose life have you made better? Whose life have you helped? Whose life have you improved? Right? So if you deposit into relationships by really caring about other people and helping them get what they want, helping them get what they want, helping them see the things they can't see, being helpful to people, being supportive of people, being useful to people, making their lives better, those are deposits. And then the reason why you don't want to bother people is you haven't done much to benefit people. I mean, in your personal life, in your life of friendship and romance and so on.
actually, I did a lot for a lot of people. I had almost a savior complex that I discovered that, like studying psychology. I did tons, but I really think it's when you, I never talked about this family stuff before. Okay. So now I understand that I was never expecting anything from anybody, because this is what happened in my family at a young age. But later in my life, I helped tons of people. And it's why I don't feel bad about my life at all, because I know that a lot of people I didn't specifically get in touch, but they were very grateful to me and very thanking me. We are not friends, but I have a very feel good feeling about all of that. I'm not pessimistic at all about life. And
okay, but then if you have, hang
think-
on. If you have helped people a lot to ask them big questions, to help them achieve what they want in life and so on, then why haven't they done that in return? Or why haven't you asked them for that in return? If I deposit a lot of money into the bank, I don't say, well, I can't go and withdraw that money. I can't ever take it out. It's like, I don't want to bother the bank. I don't want to inconvenience the bank. I want the bank to just have my money, and I'm never going to take it out. That wouldn't make any sense, right? We put deposits in the bank so we can take money out of the bank. And if you've helped a lot of people and you need help, then you should ask people for help, and they should offer the help in the same way that you offered the help. So it's still asymmetrical, right? It's still not reciprocal. So if you help a lot of people and you make a lot of deposits in relationships, then you should notice that they're not making deposits in your account. They're not helping you, and you should call them out on that. And you should, right? So if you've maybe sacrificed yourself and given money to people to help them out, you help them move, or I don't know, whatever, right? Then it's still not deep friendship, because you're of service to people.
I think
Go ahead.
I think the problem is me, Stefan. I think the problem is me. It's like I help, but then I go back to my cave. I think it's more me for some reason. It's just,
but
again,
no, your friends should notice. Your friends should notice. I mean, how many of your friends know that you're wrestling with a medical issue?
Well, all of them. Yeah.
Okay, so what are they doing to help you?
Yeah, not much.
Well, then they're not very good friends.
Yeah, I noticed that.
So you should stop providing resources, or you should sit them down and say, listen, guys, what's going on? I help you all out, and I've got this medical issue, and I've got these issues. I feel like I have to wrestle with things all alone. And then if they're good friends, they'll say, tell me more. And if they're bad friends, they'll say, well, you didn't tell us, it's your fault, blah, blah, blah. They'll just blame you, right?
You're right, Stefan. You're right. I have the right to ask them about it, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. If you're not getting what you want in a relationship, you should say something, right? I mean, I'm sure if you order a steak and they bring you a salad, you say, no, I ordered a steak, not a salad, right? So if you're not getting what you want in a relationship, you should say something. But of course, sorry, go ahead.
But with you right now, I understand that the thing is, I don't know I just understanding like with you in the last 2 hours, I don't understand what a functional relationship is supposed to look like. Even if I was listening to your podcast before, now it kicks in, now that
Sure.
you're telling me with Marcus, before I was like, this is detached from me. Now I understand that I don't have a clue what a functional relationship, even with friends, should look like, because I was not used to that at all.
Like
And
if
now I
if I
understand.
if I send you a
Yeah.
picture, right? If I send you a picture and I say,
Yeah.
do you want to buy this thing for $100,000? And it's just some box with a bunch of wires coming out of it. It's a cardboard box with a bunch of wires coming out of it. And I say, do you want to buy this for $100,000? What do you say?
It's like an NFT. I don't want that.
Yeah, like I don't want to buy it because I don't know what it is or what it does. I don't know what the purpose of this
Yeah.
thing is, right?
Yeah.
Now, if I said, oh no, the box with wires actually has a computer in it with 100 Bitcoin, well, then you'd want to buy it, right?
Yeah.
So if you don't know what relationships are for, if you don't understand their purpose, why would you invest in them any more than you'd give me $100,000 for a cardboard box with a bunch of wires coming out of it if you didn't know what it was for or what its purpose was or its value? You don't know what the value of relationships are, so why would you? And it comes from your mother and your father, who were selfish and fought at the expense of their children for over 20 years.
More than that.
Yeah. So yeah, sit down and figure out what relationships are and the value, and then they're worth investing in. But if it's just you want to buy X, you want to buy a widget for $100,000, it's like no, because I don't even know what the widget is or what it does. So or what it's for. What's the purpose? What's the value? You've got nothing to compare. So then, if you don't know what relationships for, they're all about sacrifice without benefit. Okay, I give you the $100,000. You say to me, but what do I get in return? I don't want to do it because I don't know what I'm getting in return. So hopefully that makes sense.
Hey, thanks a lot, Stefan. I'm gonna do a second round about on your podcast with this new light shining now.
Beautiful.
And I was, I had this feeling that it should be a free podcast because I felt it would help people. I'm pretty sure my situation is not unique. Many people
yes,
went through
very true. Yeah, we live in this very atomized world, so I appreciate you opening the conversation up to others.
Totally ring a bell, it's this kind of Christian testimony kind of approach of things, you just go on stage and you see what happened to it. It's very personal stuff I shared today, but I really hope it's going to help some people out there. And thanks a lot for all your work, man. Thanks.
You're very welcome, and I appreciate the conversation, and thank you so much for taking the coaching earlier, and I really, really found it helpful, and I hope you'll stay in touch.
Stefan, anytime. Cheers.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.